everyone. Welcome to Rhythm and Roads podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Jacob. We have a very special guest, Robert H. Lieberman. He's a novelist, he's a film director, and also he's part of the physics faculty at the Cornell University. So welcome, sir.
Thanks so much.
So I do want to actually get to know your story, how you became a film director. What interests you want to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, basically, I started out as a writer,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and so I don't even think of myself as a novelist so much as a storyteller.
Oh, storyteller. Okay.
And so there's a natural progression, from novel writing to film. I had done screenplays and things like that prior, but
Okay.
basically, yeah, I'm interested in telling stories. And the audiences for books, if you sell 20 to 30,000 copies or 100,000, that's a home run. Whereas
Wow.
I find with our films, we have millions of viewers, literally millions.
Right.
Our film Encore Awakens was on the BBC, and that's 10 million households in the United States alone. So the numbers, we know we're in the post-literate generation now.
Yeah, we are. That's right. Yeah. So when you so I mean being a filmmaker though, like is there something of a film that inspired you when you were as you were a teenager that you wanted to pursue film?
No, but I had worked in radio prior to that, doing documentaries for a local CBS affiliate.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up on the radio. I mean, I used to listen to Lone Rangers, Sergeant Preston of the Yukon, The Shadow. So I grew up. I'm very comfortable with radio. So
Oh,
actually,
wow.
for me, audio is almost more important than video. And of
Oh,
course, in a
okay.
film, the sound is actually more important than the picture. They've
That is
done an
correct. Yeah.
experiment
That's right.
where they've shown a film with good sound, bad video, or bad film, good picture, bad audio, and vice versa. And the one people walk out of is with the bad audio because they can fill in the pieces if the video is good. So
Yes, and
anyhow,
that is correct. I do
that's
remember studying about that, that audio is the most important than the
yeah,
actual picture itself.
yeah,
Yeah, because if you have bad audio, then they're gonna be like, I don't can't hear it. I'm not following.
right, exactly.
They'll lose interest. Yeah, so that's very important. So I do want to look into your the echoes of the Empire beyond Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you released it yet or no?
Oh yeah, it's now out on most of the streaming platforms like iTunes, Google
Oh,
Play,
awesome. Okay,
yeah, Amazon, the usual
the usual.
suspects.
Okay, so actually, I liked it. It was very interesting. A lot of great history. I mean, I did not even know about really majority of it until I watched it. But the visuals is very impressive of just the cinematography. I was just blown away. And I was like, man, you got to experience that. You got to
Yeah,
go and see all that. Like, that's awesome.
it's the world's largest sort of untouched ecosystem. I mean, it's enormous. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's the size of France or bigger, and 3 million people. And we live in the country, and I really like being on the land. Of course, travel was difficult. There are no roads. There's only a couple of major roads,
Really?
and
Wow.
you're following tracks basically. And I was, four-wheel drive, and we broke down somewhere, or at least I heard the brake, clunking, and I said to the guy who was driving, I said, "Hey, you got a problem?" And so I figured, oh, we're going to be stuck here for a long time.
Oh,
There's no
wow.
cell service or anything.
Oh, man.
So we jacked the car up and look, and it's just the brake shoe had come loose.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out this bucket of just rusty screws and nuts. And he actually found something that would fit, which was very impressive.
Oh, he did? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so then we kept rolling, and it was nice. I was sleeping in gurs, which people call yurts, living
Uh,
with families and traveling the country. And yeah, I find that doing documentaries, I did one in Burma, Myanmar. I did one in which is they call it Myanmar. I did one in Cambodia.
Wow, Cambodia. Huh.
Yeah.
My brother
So,
actually been to Cambodia. He,
ah,
yeah, he went out there to do some missionary work.
uh-huh.
He was hired to do some of the documentary and the film, for I guess for the missionaries. So they kind of like did some background on just what they were doing. So he was actually in
I
charge
assume
of
they're Buddhist missionaries.
was that?
I guess they're Buddhist missionaries.
Oh no. I mean, no, actually they went out there for I mean, they're Christians, yeah. But I mean, just so what I'm trying to say is my brother went out there for to do film as well, to
Yeah.
film everything. And but yeah, he said Cambodia was just like incredible, just what an experience.
But
Awesome.
Cambodia went through an auto genocide in which about a third of the population was murdered. It's an auto genocide where the Khmer Rouge killed. I was curious, by the way, what the kids knew about it, the young generation. Did they know? Had the parents spoken to them about it?
Yeah.
I'm always interested, whether, regardless of the country, how people think and what the psychology is, and sort of the emotional aspects of a country. And
Right, right.
yeah, I'm interested in young people particularly.
Yeah, so I mean, going back to the film that we're talking about, the Empire, Echoes of the Empire. I mean, what interested you to want to do that film? I mean, did someone present you this like just the idea, or you were just like, you know what, let's just
No, I'm interested in going to places. I hate to use the word exotic, but they are exotic.
oh, I
So
bet there, yeah.
the time you could not get into, the military was in control. You could not film. And then I had a Fulbright, so I was working with the embassy or for the embassy, the U.S.
Okay.
Embassy. And what was the question? I forgot.
Oh, I just say what interests you to want to do that film, The Echoes of the
Yeah, you
Empire?
couldn't get into Burma. So yeah, these are countries that most people will not visit.
Oh, okay.
So basically, these films are a novelist's eye view of a country. So I have the Asian trilogy, and there are places, well, I mean, you can go to, but if you want to go to Mongolia, it's a long haul
Wow.
and moving around the country. So I figured, I'm interested in piquing people's interest.
Yeah.
And so they can, we have no axes to grind. I'd like to take full credit for the film, but I really I do the shooting, but I work with a good team here in Ithaca, Photosynthesis Productions, and they do all the post-production, the animation, the sound work.
Oh, wow.
So I have the fun and they have the hard work.
Yeah.
I came back like from Burma with 140 hours that had to be boiled down to about less than 90 minutes, which
Oh,
is
wow.
quite a task. A lot of organization. Making a movie is not easy.
No, I bet it's not. No.
People always say, "Oh, I want to make a movie," and my feeling is, "Yeah, do it. You have my blessing. You don't know what you're in for." This
That's
is
right.
like pregnancy. If women knew what it was like giving birth, they probably wouldn't do it again.
They wouldn't do it again. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyhow, filmmaking. It's more of a working on a novel. I have many novels out. By the way, they're on Amazon, Kindle, etc. And working on a novel is a very solitary, undertaking. Of course, I run stuff past editors and other people, but filmmaking is collaborative. I usually land on the ground running. I know I have some very good contacts, and then it just spreads. And then before I know it, I'm dealing with hundreds of people,
Oh, wow.
and which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants to be in the movies.
Yeah, I mean they do. I have a friend I work with that he worked on the set for Breaking Bad. He's worked with Lone Survivor. He's done a
Yeah,
lot of his projects in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
yeah,
So he says as he's worked with the film crew, he says it's very demanding, even in tight weather. So for what you said, as in like working on a film is not easy, he's confirmed it. He's like, yeah, when I worked on Breaking Bad, worked on Lone Survivor and some other films, he says it's a lot. Yeah. But the end is incredible just to know that you were part of a film.
yeah, yeah. And it's kind of magic because I did a comedy called Green Lights, and we shot a lot of it here in Ithaca, then LA and New
Oh,
York.
okay.
You piece it together, and it looks seamless, but it's not.
No.
So I did this film. They call it Myanmar, and at the time, Aung San Suu Kyi, the leader of the democracy movement, was in house arrest, and I could not get her. And then suddenly things changed, and she was released. And I managed. We already had the film just about in the can. I
Yeah.
managed to go back and get her and interview her, and we fit it in, and it sort of seemed seamless, as if it was part of the whole. And it wasn't. It was sort of a last minute thing. But
Wow.
good editors can do this. Yeah, I mean, film is it's a kind of magical thing.
Well, it
Like,
is. I'm
yeah,
actually really big into filmmaking.
good.
Yeah, my brother, he's in California right now, and he has his own. He went to Biola University to study cinema and arts. So he's pretty big in film. So Robert, did you want to go ahead and talk about your novels?
Yeah, but I'm going to have to sneeze.
Oh, okay, no worries. I was like, oh, I think you want to see
Well,
that.
this
God
is,
bless you.
we live on 120 acres here, and there's a
Oh,
lot
no
of,
way, you do? That's
yeah,
awesome.
there's lots of allergens, and
Yeah.
this is the season for ragweed, so I may sneeze again.
Oh,
Um,
I have bad allergies too. I've been taking allergy medicine because where I live is out in the country as well.
where is it?
It's in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's maybe like an hour from Santa Fe.
I'm
But
reading a
where I'm
wonderful
at is out
book.
in the outskirts. So,
Reading a wonderful book called Blood and Thunder. It's about the West, Kit Carson and the conquering of the West. Anyhow, novels. I'm a storyteller. Most of my novels revolve around children. I'm very interested in children.
oh, okay.
Yeah, because they're A, they're uninhibited, and B, you know, they're important. I did a film called The Last Boy. It's a story of a working class mother who gets late to pick up her child at daycare, and there's a new woman there, and the kids already have left. And she said, "Wait a second, where's Danny?" And the woman says, "Danny who?" Her child, her 6-year-old child, has
Yeah.
disappeared.
Wow.
And what has happened to the child? Well, she searches for the child, gets involved with a detective, and ultimately, though, they can't find the child. Their bodies found of children, but it's not her boy Danny. And ultimately, 6 months later, he walks into her home, but he's changed, dramatically changed. It's the story of what happened to this boy. I
Wow.
did another story called Baby, story of a 59-year-old woman who thinks she's dying, but she's really pregnant, and she claims she's never been with a man. And she ends up giving, outside of Ithaca here, a birth to a baby. And from the moment of the baby's birth, the baby can sing, but sing like
Okay.
no other human being, this unearthly melody. And of
Whoa.
course, everybody wants baby. Uh, so
That's an
kidnapped,
interesting
you know,
story.
baby does concerts. Yeah, it's sort of a piece of Americana, I think.
Well, and what's
So
the name of that story with the baby?
baby,
Oh, it's just baby? Oh, okay.
baby, yeah,
Oh, cool. That's an interesting story of
baby.
baby that can
The other
sing.
book is The Last Boy,
Uh,
and I have a book called Paradise Rezoned that's about essentially someone living in the country and the developers come. It's sort of man against developers, but I don't do, axe grinding, neither in books nor in film. Sort of what I want to do is engage the reader or the viewer. And my theory is you have to grab the viewer, reader by the collar and never let go.
that's right.
Just
That's very
hang
true.
on to them, and so they can't put the book down, can't go to another movie, that they stay with you. But of course, that's the secret of success of bestsellers and
Yeah.
movies that really, make it. You've got to have an element of suspense.
No, that's very true because I like to read books, and so usually when I read a book, I don't just read any kind of book. I do a little, I guess, background on it, and as soon as I read even the first chapter, and if it grabs me, then I'm gonna continue reading it. If it doesn't after
Yes.
the first
And if
chapter,
it doesn't, you'll put it aside because
yeah, I put it on the side. I'm like, ah, no.
10, 15 pages,
Yeah. So that's
This,
true what you said. You want to write stuff that will capture you on the first chapter on, where you're like,
that's
okay,
right.
this is really good. Yeah.
Yes. There's always something hanging fire. Will X happen? Where is this going? What's going to happen
Yeah.
to the baby? What's going to happen to the old mother?
Right.
Uh, the baby is taken from her.
Wow. Do you have other stories you have written?
Yeah, novels. Yeah, I have a newish book, The Boys of Truxton. It takes place in a prison for teenagers who have committed major offenses, multiple murders or
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
I have volunteered and tried to try. I say try worked with the kids, the inmates. They're all under 18, but that sort of inspired the Boys of Truxton.
Yeah.
It's a story of a kid who is a black kid who is tried for a crime of which he's innocent, and he's on the run basically.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I have a number. If you do a search on Amazon, by the way, I'm Robert H. Not you need to have the H, otherwise you'll get somebody else.
Right. Put H.
Put the H in the middle. Yes.
Yeah, and that's how I came across you because I didn't put H. I put just Robert Lieberman and
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the other who I know, who I believe passed away.
right. And so your other film, that will Green Lights, what was the idea behind that story on the film?
It's a story of a nobody who works for a film company called Everest Productions,
Mhm.
and he comes to this small town called Ithaca. People think he's going to Utica, but it's not. There's confusion. Anyhow, he arrives. He's just a location scout, and what happens is that he's taken for a major producer
Oh,
and
wow.
takes the town on a wild ride. So we shot it using local. I brought in professional actors
Uh-huh.
in New York, but basically it's the people around. We used locals playing themselves. I think Fellini did this. And it's yeah, it's an unusual film to say the least. So yeah, I'm looking for the next film, and that's always nail biting. Will I come up with something? And the business like docs is very tough.
Yeah.
Um, so you have to have something that's going to really grab audiences. Netflix, etc. We're buying docs, and now they really are hardly doing that at all. So people are watching. And what can I tell them? It's a slog. It took us to do that. They call it Myanmar. It took us 4 years in
Four
production,
years. Oh, wow.
shooting, and then post production. And Encore Awakens was probably 2.5, 3 years. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, you've got to sift through all the footage and find the story.
right. I
So
agree.
a lot of people go, a lot of documentary filmmakers know what they're doing. I never do. And
I
so
never do. Well, you
uh,
sure
my
do
son
added.
My son is a businessman. Says, "What? You start a film, you don't have funding, and you don't know what you're doing. This is
That's what
not
he
the way
told
you
you?
start a company." Well, you discover the film, and somehow the funding comes. It pays to know rich people. So anybody who's listening to this who wants to make movies, I would cultivate very rich people, and they're out there, unfortunately.
No, they are, yeah. And distributors, yeah.
No, individuals
Oh,
who
yeah,
have
individuals, yeah.
they have so much money you can't imagine.
I can imagine, yeah. And
You
I'm
can't
actually
imagine.
I've met other filmmakers that like his name is he did the film The Shift, Brock Heasley. It came out in theater, but it's from Angel Studio. But he told me that was his very first film ever, and he hired a lot of actors in there. And it's just I'm like, and I interviewed him, and I was like, that's incredible. Just that's your first, and he just had a script and he presented it, and they liked it. So really, like you said, storytelling is everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah,
And I view films as building a building or a house, and you start with a foundation, and that's the screenplay.
that's right.
If the screenplay isn't good, the foundation isn't good, I don't care how good the acting is.
Right.
It's all these steps. So you
Yep.
have to have a good screenplay, and of course, casting. Casting is everything. You
It is.
also.
Yeah.
I just finished watching the Crown, and It's so perfectly done. The Brits understand acting. America, anybody can be an actor here, right?
Right. Yeah.
Became an actor. Yeah, anybody, you can become an actor. So there isn't, in Europe where I've lived a lot, they have they like, in Britain, the Royal Dramatic, whatever it's called, Academy, and I know in Sweden even, Martin, they train their actors.
Oh, they do. Oh, wow.
Looks easy, right? Oh, I can act. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's interesting that they train them.
oh, they train them, and they train them well. And
Yeah.
that's why the British films are so good. They're
Yeah,
they're seamless often. The acting, you have to suspend disbelief. That's the secret.
I
So
agree.
you have to. I know a good movie when I see one, when I forget I'm watching a movie,
That's
right?
right. I agree.
Story, and I'm there. And they're just a bunch of people who are imposters. They're imposters.
Yeah.
And then I start to believe that they're real, and
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah.
Well, actors like to be somebody else. They like putting on different clothes, and they probably don't like themselves. That's what an agent once said to me. Actors don't like themselves. That's why they like
Playing
impersonating.
something, yeah, impersonating someone else. Yeah. That's funny. I did want to ask you, were you the executive producer for Release Me?
No,
No, that wasn't you. Oh, I'm sorry,
no,
not Release Me. My apologies. Reach Me, Reach Me.
no, no,
No, because that's
no.
actually under your on your
Yeah,
IMDb.
this is IMBD that really screws things up.
Because that film's with
Filmed a
Sylvester
new
Stallone.
film, animated film that it's now in production in France, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
called right now "The Nazis, My Father and Me."
Okay.
And yeah, it's on Vimeo, or you could even Google "The Nazis, My Father and Me." So I did the novel, which still hasn't been published, and then the screenplay with the director.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
it's wonderful working in France because they pay me with food.
Oh, that's I bet the food was really good.
My producer, it's hard getting money out of him, but he'll take me for constant dinners. And I was down in Cannes for one of their films, and it's Didier Bruner. He's got 5 Academy Award nominations, so I got very
Oh,
lucky.
yeah.
And he has a film out now called Summit of the Gods, which I saw in Cannes. It's spectacular
Oh,
animated.
okay.
But I'm just learning. I am not, I'm only involved in the screenplay and making sure the English translation is right. But I do not know how to draw. I can draw only a duck or a tree. And yeah. So, I mean, these guys but the French, by the way, are really interested in animation. That's their
Are they
special.
really? Oh, wow. Okay. Are you working on any novels right now in the future? Another story?
Yeah, I have a new book called The Real Boy, story of two families in which the 6-year-old children, the children have been mixed up at birth, and it's discovered 6 years later in the first day of school. And
Okay.
it's a refugee family from Vienna who have lost the entire family, and this child, the the biological one's the last in the line, but they have the wrong kid in an Irish working class family that has the other kid. And the Lusters, Max Luster, sues for the return of his biological child. And it's a mess, basically, but it deals with nature versus nurture. I mean, right?
Right.
After 6 years, that child really belongs with the family. I think it lives with, but
Yeah.
this is going to uproot 2 children.
Have you
So
ever
that,
thought about grabbing one of your novels and turning it into a film?
yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, agree. The Nazis, My Father and Me, turned into one. I've had novels optioned galore.
Oh, okay.
The Last Boy was optioned in Hollywood by Nick Wexler repeatedly, didn't get made. Paradise Rezoned got optioned by Warner's. Yeah, I mean, the option game. They're throwing out a lot of lines, and then you know, of the 10 films they option, they'll make one or something. It's a way of tying up properties or giving them the option of moving forward.
Okay. But have you ever considered the latest one you're working on to make it into a script?
Yeah, I can't be. I'll tell you why. It's a period piece. It's set in 1943. In animation, by the way, the animation is spectacular. They have New York
Okay.
City in 1941 down every building. The New York Public Library, 42nd Street,
Oh wow.
appears just perfect.
Wow.
They do all the research, of course,
Yeah.
but doing period pieces, it's costumes, it's settings, it's streets, it's cars. It's yeah, that is a big budget film.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, I've thought about it, but I'm at the point where after you finish a novel, you're sick of it, and I would rather do an original screenplay, and something fresh, which is
Fresh.
exciting, right? Something new, and then you've got the energy. Like Green Lights, we had 300 people involved in the film, and
Wow,
that took
300 people. That's awesome.
ultimately in it is extras, actors, playing themselves. Waiters played waiters, lawyers played lawyers, things like that. Police played themselves. Police are very good at acting, anyhow.
Are they
They're
really?
always
Oh wow.
yes. That's how they project power. They act as if to obey.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, they're ultimate actors and they love acting. So
Okay.
it's easy. I had the state police, I had local cops playing FBI. They love it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
What's a oh well, besides other countries, is here in the US, what's have your been like one of your favorite places to film? Like a lot downtown Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. Like what do you?
Oh, I would say Burma, Myanmar, which is
Okay.
now, there was another coup or a coup, and the country is in war now. The ethnic groups are fighting the army, and they're kind of winning now. Aung San Suu Kyi, the democracy leader, is in prison, not house arrest, prison. So they call it Myanmar. Is turns out it was done a number of years ago. It's still current.
Oh wow.
The military, yes. So nothing, everything, and nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed.
Fascinating country, and the people and they look fascinating because the women wear this facial thanika, and they do patterns on their faces, the bark of a tree, this white stuff they put on. And yeah, no, that's the most exotic and different country I have ever been in. At the time, you were not allowed to film. The military was running the show, and I got into trouble a few times. And
Uh-oh.
yeah, I like getting in trouble.
Oh, you like getting in trouble. Okay.
I've always been in trouble my whole life. I've always been pushing boundaries, and
Hey, that's you're on the edge, huh? You like to be on the edge.
I want to do a film in Iran and one in North Korea.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you like to get in trouble,
Pushing
huh?
the edge, pushing the envelope. Yeah,
Yeah, wow. I
right
want to
now.
ask you, because I'm into film too, what cameras do you like using when you shoot your films?
Well, you weren't allowed to shoot in Burma. I'm not sure if you call it Burma or Myanmar. The generals changed the name, but um, I've been using. Look, you want to. You weren't allowed to shoot, so I needed a camera that was not obtrusive. Now I'm using a 4K Sony that's really not big, but the quality is amazing. It's got built-in stability.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
I walk backwards, for instance, it looks like a dolly shot.
Wow.
The
Okay.
lens sort of floats.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this Sony, and I don't know what the name is. I'd have to go look. But yeah, I've always used the Sonys because they're very simple to operate. And if you're running and gunning, which is what I do frequently, on the run,
Mhm.
um, you can put this thing on auto and not have to start setting, focus and things like that. The autofocus is so good. The cameras are so good now. So for a couple $1,000, you can get a really good camera for documentary work.
Wow.
Um, I don't, I don't use SLRs.
You don't? Okay.
I've done that for time lapse, but otherwise, my theory is, and for what it's worth, the SLRs are beautiful. They have very large screens, so you get this incredibly beautiful resolution. But you you can't zoom in with them unless you have all this other equipment around it and things to hold it. I'm into handheld where
Okay.
possible. And interviews, I'll use a tripod.
Okay.
I find that not, I found, I used to use crews. I found not using a crew very advantageous because, I make coffee and sandwiches and I'll sit you down and the camera will start to run and the subjects forget the camera. Whereas if you have crew, sound, people, lights, this and that, I'll use a little extra light. If I can use available light, all the
Yeah.
better. And they forget it. And then they
Uh,
laugh and cry and tell you their stories, which they wouldn't ordinarily. I know when I go in front of the camera and there's a crew, I just freeze up.
okay.
You know,
Yeah, 'cause there's so
you're
many
under
people
pressure.
watching you, but yeah.
Yeah, you're under pressure. And
Right.
this way they're not. And I've also learned never turn off the camera. I used to say, oh, that's really a good interview. Thank you very much. And then when you turn off the camera, the good stuff comes. So they'll say, I meant to tell you. So I always say,
Oh man,
a great interview. Thank you so much. And pretend to turn off the camera. And then the good stuff
the
comes.
good stuff comes out. You're like, ooh, it's rolling. Let's capture
That's
that.
right. And you
That's
just
right.
got yeah. It's a little deceptive, but then you can tell them, by the way,
Oh
Mr.
yeah.
is filming this. I also say, if you say something, I've had people say things, political things about Henry Kissinger and things like that,
Yeah.
and they'll come back to me, people in the government, saying, "Listen, can you cut that thing because
Oh
you
really?
know I'm going to be out of a job and be persona non grata." I'll say, "Yeah, if you didn't mean to say it." Um, or in retrospect, but I won't cut everything. I mean, it's got to be a reasonable.
Right, right.
If your life is threatened, in Myanmar, we had to cover up people's faces because they go to jail. I get out of the country finally, and they go to
Oh
jail.
wow.
So that's a bit of a responsibility.
Oh yeah. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience on the journey of you or of your filmmaking, writing books. I mean, it's awesome to hear your story, and that's why I do what I do because I always bring on guests to share their story, share their
Fun.
inspiration. One of the cameras I do have, I'm trying to utilize it, is a cinema a line Sony camera. It's 4K.
Yeah,
Called an FX6, and I have it in my possession, but I haven't really utilized it really. And
God,
it's
you spent a lot of money. Now you got to use it
well, I actually was I went to a school called Full Sail University. So actually they sent me this camera with a laptop, and yeah,
for
now
free.
oh no, no, I'm paying back on that. No, but
Oh,
it was yeah, but it was part of the tuition, and yeah. So now that I have it, everyone's like, "Man, you have a really good
oh
camera."
yeah, man. Get going. It's easier said than done. You have to be careful because once you start shooting and you're on a track, that's a major commitment,
Oh, true. Yeah, you
right?
don't want to
You
stop.
gotta follow through. And you gotta, yeah, I have a rule, by the way, never edit the stuff you shoot.
Never edit the stuff you shoot. Oh,
You'll be
that's true.
advanced
Yeah.
with something, and then an editor will look at it and say, like, what? No, it's not great. And kill your babies, they say, for novels and for film.
Oh
Kill
man.
your darlings
That is
because
true. What you said, like I've heard that before, where you shoot your film, but don't edit it. Let someone else do it because they're the ones who's going to kind of do the story for you and edit and bringing it all together.
and we'll also have outside judgment because when you're shooting a scene, you're bringing all the emotion of that and everything surrounding it. And oh, that was really great doing it. And then you go back and look at the scene, it's like blah, it's nothing because you thought it was so great
Right.
and it isn't great.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
yeah,
true.
you need outside. And also, we always show rough cuts to focus groups.
Oh, you
And
do? Okay.
yeah, yeah, what was boring? That's the first question. Or where did
Oh,
it
it's boring.
Yeah, where did the energy go down?
Okay.
What did you like and what did you dislike? But let's start with I want to know what you didn't like. I
Yeah.
don't need compliments, right? We don't need compliments. We need to know where we're going wrong.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Compliments will come later. What we're focusing on is improving the film,
That's right.
taking out the stuff that's boring and just remove all that stuff. No time for that. Well, thank you, Robert H. Lieberman, for coming on Rhythm and Roads podcast. I really appreciate your time, sir. I know you're very busy. But yes, you said your books are on Amazon, right? All of
Yeah, Amazon, Kindle, the usual
the
suspect.
usual under your name
Yeah, with the H in the middle.
with the
Robert,
H. Don't forget the H.
not.
Yeah, and that film, The Echoes of the Empire, I really did enjoy it. It was really good, well
Oh
shot,
my God. I
and
mean, yeah. I worked with some Mongolians to do the drone shots, and you see thousands of head of horses and sheep, and you get started. Yeah, those drone shots. It's an Australian guy,
wow, okay,
no, New Zealander. The shots are spectacular. Yeah, no, this is the most beautiful film I ever worked on.
yeah,
It's
it was very
I
beautiful.
have to see that. When I see it myself, it's like, ooh,
Like, ooh, who did that? Oh yeah, that was me.
yeah. Oh my God, it's good looking. So patting myself on the back.
Hey, and then there's no problem with that either, patting yourself on the back. It was hard work.
Yeah, but it's always the secret is bringing together the right people, the right to help you.
Right. That is true. Yeah, a
Yeah,
good team brings a good film out. So,
that's right.
well, thank you, sir, for your time. And I will definitely get this film to you in the next 2 days. I'm in the interview. I will send you the link through email.
Great.
And then feel free to share it to whoever you
Yeah.
like.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching on this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.